College football week 5 takeaways. Number one takeaway so far, this has by far been the best weekend of the year in college football. And it started off on Friday night with Miami hosting Virginia Tech, where that game went to the wire. And Virginia Tech was ruled on the field to be victors in that game as they threw a Hail Mary, in which on the call on the field was said reception in the end zone, and then it got overturned. So then Miami ended up winning the game. That game was the best game of the year in my opinion until we reached Bama Georgia, who would have expected would to be the best game of the year. That game was incredible. By I think in my opinion the best game of the year. So and then the rest of the week we had some bangers. We had Kentucky upsetting Ole Miss. Arizona upsetting Utah at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We had Notre Dame and Louisville kind of going back and forth. Oklahoma-Auburn was just a mess that everyone saw coming, but nonetheless an extremely exciting game. We had the Tobacco Road rivalry where UNC was up 20-0 and ended up losing the game 21-20. Just an all-time collapse by the Tar Heels. And then Colorado just stomping UCF as a 2-touchdown dog. This whole weekend was incredible. Hoping for more of that as we go out throughout the season, but by far the best weekend so far. All right, the next biggest takeaway, there is a clear separation at the top. I have 5 teams who I think are at the elite of the sport, and after that, there is a pretty substantial drop-off for the rest of the sport, like 6 through 15, whatever. There's a big drop-off from the top 5. Top 5 being Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, and Tennessee. In my opinion, those are 1 through 5 in that order. But those 5 teams are at the top of the sport right now, and after them, there is a drop. So we'll see how that moves moving forward. The Big 12, it's unfolding like everyone thought it would. Like there was a very real possibility that we would have like maybe 2, 3 lost teams in the Big 12 championship, and no one looks to be better than each other. And that's kind of what we thought going in, that the Big 12 was just going to be a chaos conference. And it's proving to be. Like, who is going to win the Big 12? I have no idea. Like, $1 million to who can predict who's going to win the Big 12, because every week it looks like someone's different. And every week there's a good team having a bad week. So what's going to happen there, I don't know. But it's unfolding like we thought it was, and it probably is the most exciting conference in the country right now. How about the freshmen taking over and just dominating the sport right now? Like, I don't remember a year where there's so many freshmen on the field that we're looking and like, damn, these dudes are freshmen. They might be the best dudes on their team, and they're making plays like crazy. And like, it's primarily dominated by this wide receiver class, which was absolutely stacked. But on both sides of the ball, the freshmen are doing a fantastic job in making really big plays in big games. I mean, look what Ryan Williams just did. Look what Jeremiah Smith, those circus catches like he's had all year. Bryant Wesco is stunting at Clemson. Colin Simmons at Texas is a ball hawk. He's being a freak. Dylan Raiola looking good again. Like Cam Coleman, like there's a whole freshman class that is just absolutely insane. I mean, Dylan Stewart on the edge at South Carolina, he looks like one of the best edge rushers in the country right now as a freshman. And then you got Ryan Wingo at Texas. It's just Zabian Brown coming up with that interception from Alabama at the end of the game. Like, the freshman class is elite, and these guys are showing out. Some of them as 17-year-olds. All right, Colorado, going back to the Big 12 again. They are very alive for the Big 12 championship, and like, I did not think that they would be 4-1 and after week 5. I just did not think that was going to happen. They were 2 touchdown dogs to UCF and just blew the doors off of them. So kudos to Deion Sanders and to the Colorado team. Like, they are overachieving my expectations. I think I was a little lower on them than some other people, but they have looked solid throughout the year. At least, competitive in every game, maybe besides from the Nebraska game. But good for them. They are very much alive in this very open Big 12 conference. Ole Miss, they're my Lols team of the week. Man, like, if that's your expectations are to compete for the SEC championship and, be successful and get some wins in the college football playoff, you can't have that loss. The flip side of that, I think Kentucky is maybe better than we think. I think we got a sour taste in our mouth after we saw them against South Carolina just get drug all over the field. But I think the South Carolina game may be the exception there. They took Georgia to the wire, only losing by a point, and now end up beating Ole Miss. I think this Kentucky team might be pretty solid. We'll see how they do moving forward, but I do think that the South Carolina game is probably the exception for them. But for Ole Miss, you can't have it. Now they go on the road to play South Carolina this week. Is probably going to be my favorite game of the weekend. So we'll see how they do. Florida State, man, we are down real bad, man. DJU now listed as a maybe the starter. He's listed as for maybe Brock Glenn, who took over in that game at SMU. But I took the Florida State under for the year because I didn't think that they were going to be as good as last year. But I did not see them starting 1-4. I did not see them getting blown out by 30 plus points against SMU. At SMU, like, man, they are down real bad. They need a big turnaround for the rest of the year. We almost had a proper full chaos week. Almost. Like, we had some big upsets. I just talked about the Kentucky Ole Miss upset. And obviously Bama and Georgia. I'd call that an upset by Bama by any stretch, but really crazy week. You had Utah losing at home to Arizona, so like we were right there. Colorado, taking over UCF, so we were right there, and we could have gotten to a full chaos week if Wisconsin and Louisville kept their foot on the gas. They were right there. Wisconsin had USC on the ropes, and then just all-time collapse. And Louisville back and forth. They just couldn't get the ball moving. So they almost had it. It was not quite a full chaos week, but we got a little bit of an appetizer. Lastly, let's talk about Indiana. We talked about them last week. I brought it up. This Indiana team potentially being 9-0 entering the Michigan game is very possible. So they have Northwestern this weekend, and then they have Nebraska and Washington both at home, and then at Michigan State before they enter into the Michigan game. Like, there is a very real possibility that they go 4-0 in that stretch. Kurt Sidnetti has this team rolling. They look solid. They just kind of beat Maryland, a pretty solid Maryland team, without any kind of hiccups. So I like how they're playing. They look really good and could be a really good contender in the Big Ten. And they got Michigan and Ohio State back to back. But Indiana, credit to Kirk Cincinnati and the Hoosiers, they've looked great. Follow Big Body Ball CFB on all socials.